Welcome to Turning the Page, a Lexington Public Library podcast. I'm Mariam Adarat.
And I'm Erin West. If you love the library because of books, the programs, and the people behind both, then this is the podcast for you.
And even if you don't, there's still fun to be had. We will bring you the latest book releases that are worth checking out, figuratively and literally.
And we will discuss all of the happenings at the library to look out for.
And of course, what would a library podcast be without a special guest? We will get to know some special authors that are making an impact on our local literary scene.
Whether you're listening to us in your car while washing dishes or snuggled up with a warm drink, we are grateful for your time and hope you enjoy.
Hello, welcome to today's episode. We are going to be diving into the fascinating intersection of libraries and the paranormal with a truly unique guest. Joining us today is Courtney Block. She is the Instruction, Reference, and User Engagement Librarian at Indiana University Southeast. Courtney isn't just a librarian. She's an author and an explorer of the unexplained. She's the author of the upcoming Inside the World's Haunted Libraries, as well as the Encyclopedia of Parapsychology and Researching the Paranormal. It's a guide to finding credible information on everything from ghosts and astrology and near-death experiences. Her work has also appeared in the Feminine Macabre and the Haunted magazine, where she continues to bridge the gap between academic research and paranormal curiosity. Courtney's passion lies in helping people navigate the mysterious with a critical eye, teaching others how to locate free, reliable resources on a wide range of paranormal topics. Whether you're a skeptic, a believer, or just curious, you're in for a thought-provoking conversation that blends scholarly insight with supernatural intrigue. So grab your preferred warm drink, dim the lights, and get ready to explore the haunted stacks with Courtney Block. Well, hello, Courtney. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. To start off, can you just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got into writing?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be chatting with you. My name is Courtney Block. I am the Instruction, Reference, and User Engagement Librarian at Indiana University Southeast.
Okay.
And before that, I was Public Services Librarian at Charlestown Clark County in Southern Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I stumbled into writing. I'm glad you asked this.
It's right into our profession, so you'd be surprised how many librarians I know that are writers.
Right. You're right. Actually, now that I think about it too, I just basically remember seeing a call for proposals come through one winter. And I just remember thinking to myself, oh yeah, I have this idea to write a reference style book about the paranormal. So I'll just send this idea in. And I didn't expect to hear anything back because I just thought the person on the other end of that email was going to, just get a nice chuckle or something. And they emailed back and said, hey, tell me more. And here I am talking to you.
That's amazing. So how did you get into writing? Like, is it just something that you submitted to an agency, or did you start off as a self-published author? So, talk to us a little bit about your actual writing journey.
Yes, that's a great question. I worked with a formal publisher. When I saw the call for proposals for ideas, the publisher reached back and asked to hear me, flesh out more of the idea and then submit a formal proposal that included things like a writing sample and an outline and a tentative table of contents. And then that went through an editorial board who had a couple more questions of their own. And then they formally offered a contract for the writing of it. And then that's when I sat down and began actually creating the thing. And I'm on my third book now, and each of them has been with a publisher.
That's amazing. So why did you choose this particular subject? Why haunted libraries? One of the writing pieces that I read, you say libraries are inherently haunted spaces. So talk to us a little bit about that statement and why you think that is.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you asked this. I have had this idea for a while now I've always been interested in the paranormal. And I've always also just really loved libraries and from very early on really wanted to become a librarian. And I have been thinking over the past couple of years more and more about the very haunted nature of libraries. And what I mean by that is that I think it's a very natural thing that there are a lot of stories and experiences that people have in libraries
Mm-hmm.
because libraries are such an they're such an in between entity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you all know this and
Mhm.
I know this, like that there's, the constant flow of people through our spaces that churns up a sort of energy, but then there's also, the resources on the shelf that are kind of echoing outward with like the energy of the authors, a lot of whom are long dead and gone.
Mhm.
And there's just this like leftover energy, I think, that happens in library spaces. And furthermore, I think that it's amplified by the fact that libraries are they're very beloved entities in communities, but they're so vastly different from anything in our, capitalist society, because
Mhm.
where else other than the library can you go without having any reason to be there? So they're kind of this thing that's they're very much of society and they're very beloved by society, but they are so different from it at the same time.
Yeah, it's probably the least, maybe I would say, transactional place.
Yes,
You can go and get your books or DVDs or whatever it is without having to spend a dime. And
yes,
it's very much a place where people can go and get their needs met without having to necessarily put forth money. Or, I mean, of course, it's paid through taxpayer money, but it's very much a communal place. And there is something that is essentially hallowed in the space that is a library. And you talk
yes,
about that in your writing as well, a little bit, as libraries as third places. It's a phrase that's thrown around about libraries. But that phrase, as third places, that contributes to its haunting. So, can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
yes. Thank you for asking. Third places was this concept coined and popularized by Ray Oldenburg,
Hmm.
and he talks about this notion of the third place in society as being that place that's it's not the home and it's not work, but it's these places, they are these places in society where people go regularly and they meet in community. And so it's
Yeah.
things like coffee shops probably are the most, immediate response or familiarity that people would have, but also places like libraries. And yeah, it's just this notion of the repeated sort of gathering of people in spaces. And I think that that's another really unique aspect of libraries.
Hmm.
Um, and like you mentioned, even even though coffee shops and libraries share that same third place attribute, I mean, coffee shops you're expected to buy your way in, And so you're right. Libraries are they sort of deconstruct the transactional nature that dominates our daily lives.
Hmm. So, I want to shift our gears a little bit and talk about not necessarily library as a space, but also the actual collection. So, that's my wheelhouse as a collection developer. You talk about when you enter the library collection and the ghosts of the collection. So that part really struck a chord with me because it's the stories that are housed within the library that have their own ghosts. So talk to us a little bit about that concept.
Oh, thank you. I'm extremely humbled to hear that it struck a chord with you. That's so nice to hear. There's a lot of different ways that I think the collection echoes out this sort of ghostly vibe. And I think one way is that any creation, whether it's, a piece of writing or
Mhm.
a painting or a movie, the creator puts so much of their energy into it, that I think there's some sort of like remnant or echo of that you can feel in a library space, but also the characters that kind of come to life through the stories. And the unique thing about libraries is that when it's a physical book on a shelf, it's going to go home with a reader, and the reader is going to then pour their energy into it and resonate, or maybe hate, or maybe feel indifferent about the characters in the story. And then that book that has lived with that reader for a period of time goes right back on the shelf, only to repeat the cycle over and over and over. And then that item, that book, takes on as many lives as it has readers.
Yes.
And yeah, and I think that I get very philosophical about ghosts and haunting, and I just feel like it feels a bit ritualistic in a way, like the library as a ritual thing. And I just also think that it just further adds to the notion of the library as a very unique, very special, very different place in our society.
Yeah. Your book that's going to come out soon. When is your book going to be come out? Inside the World's Haunted Libraries. When is the release date for
Yes.
it?
I don't actually have the release date on me
Okay.
yet. It is still very much in production. It's still
Oh,
a
okay.
very new, yeah, it's still a very emerging new thing.
Okay.
It is
So
it
you're
is
still doing the
written.
research and writing for it?
No, it is written. It is in the hands of my publisher, and
Ah.
now, yeah, it's just, got to go through the next steps in terms of getting page proofs, and then from there I'll be able to, do the index. The index is probably the only thing that I haven't done yet, because I've got to wait on proofs for that. So it's still
So
still in the
I'm
works.
curious about the research that went into writing this book. What are some of the stories that you were able to garner from your research for this book? What are those, I guess, more interesting haunted libraries?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So my research involved putting out a call through various methods, so many emails, so many listservs, reaching, yeah, reaching out to so many people. And basically, it was just a Google form where people could submit their experiences, and heavily focused on library workers. And because I really want, as a librarian, like, I just really wanted to capture our human experiences in these places. And so that's how I did the research, if you will, and people could choose whether they wanted to remain anonymous or not.
Mhm.
And I tell you what, one of the stories that immediately comes to mind when you ask that is a story. There were actually two of these that happened. One was over in the United Kingdom, and one was over here in the US.
Mhm.
And it was very similar, where it was around closing time, and multiple library workers had seen one of the regular patrons, and knew that they were still in the building. But then when they went back into the room
Mhm.
to remind the patron that, that they were closed, they were nowhere to be found.
Oh, wow.
Um, right. And that one stood out to me because there seemed to be a little bit of a pattern of that emerge through the stories that library workers submitted.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see how, especially like the libraries that inhabit the older buildings, you can definitely feel some of the ghosts of libraries past. So,
Yes.
yeah. So this is exciting. Your book hopefully will be out soon. What about your other writings, your previous works? I know you've written for some articles for some haunted themed magazines. Talk to us a little bit about that, about your previous work.
Yes. Oh my gosh. My first book was researching the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all about, basically, it's a history of paranormal research through the lens of the scientific method, like people who have been looking at the topic of ghosts and ESP scientifically from about the late 1700s onwards. And then that book is an annotated bibliography of research on various topics from that time period through today. And then along the way, I'm also, as a librarian, telling people, hey, here's how you can access all of these things.
Yeah.
Use your library. And my second book was the Encyclopedia of Parapsychology. And it features biographical sketches on key figures in the history of parapsychology, with an emphasis on including modern researchers and researchers and figures who are often overlooked in the history books. And like you said, I have a couple of short articles and essays written in places like Haunted Magazine and The Feminine Macabre and Edge Science.
Wow. That's very, very cool. So how does your work, and you're in an academic library, right?
Yes.
How does your work serving the academic community inform your writing?
Yes.
Or is it more of a hindrance?
No, not at all. I'm glad you asked this. It is not a hindrance for me. I think that I've been very lucky in terms of having a supportive community, because I know the topic of the paranormal can be a pretty divisive one
Oh, yes.
in the academic community. I think it helps that I'm a librarian
Mhm.
and not a psychologist or parapsychologist myself. I'm just a parapsychological bibliographer, if you will. Yeah. And no, it hasn't been divisive. I think the way that it inspires me, my work as a librarian directly inspired the creation of my first book, because I was inspired by the students who, well, I was inspired by my own personal interest, but also by the students who would approach me as a reference librarian at the desk, and they would, tell me that they needed to write a research paper. And they would say one of two things. They would say, I'm interested in writing about ghosts or the paranormal, but there's probably no credible sources out there. So can you just help me find a new topic?
Yeah.
Or they would say things like, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I love reading about ghosts,
Uh-huh.
and I just got to thinking that, nobody should feel silly or feel like they're crazy for being interested in whatever topic
Or
they're interested in.
invalidated about what, yeah.
Yes, or invalidated. And then also, I, was thinking to myself, it's just not true that there's no credible inquiry into this topic. And then I saw the call for proposals, and I just thought to myself, here's how I can take my personal interest in the topic with my professional skills as a librarian, with the ultimate goal of showing students that your interest is valid, and here's how you can research these topics. And also, the topic of the paranormal challenges students
Yeah.
to really, yeah, it really makes them reevaluate and push their standard notions of credibility and research and scholarship. And yeah, so it really directly plays into my role as reference librarian and user engagement librarian.
Yeah. And that's important, again, to make sure that the students are validated in their research and not make them feel weird that they're actually interested in this topic. So
Absolutely, absolutely. I wanted to out myself, if you will, as, a fellow weirdo, like I say that word lovingly, but
it's
yeah.
I think it's a topic that has a wider interest than people expect, because it's not talked about very much. It's all good and well when this topic is written from a fiction standpoint, but behind every fiction book there is some truth to it. And I think doing the actual research and putting, again, validation towards people's experiences in specific spaces, let alone libraries, I think is really cool. So thank you so much for agreeing to do the podcast and coming to talk about this very fascinating work. We look forward to seeing what your book does and the journey that takes. So thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to chat about this. This has been wonderful.
Awesome. It was good to hear from you, Courtney. Take care.
Likewise, you too.
Well, that was a good conversation with Courtney. Very
Yes, it
fascinating.
was. Yes.
The paranormal, I think, if you're a religious person, I guess you can talk more about it being like spiritual ghosts or more from a spirituality, but there's no reason why those two things can't be linked.
Yeah. No, I think it's always a really interesting topic because it's kind of always in our consciousness as humans. It feels like there's something there. And our brains just say, yep, this is what it is. And, our beliefs inform that too. So,
yeah. And I think paranormal experiences are always about connections and the connections we make with other humans, whether they're in this life or have long passed. So very fascinating.
Yes.
So let's talk about books. So I try to keep like a nonfiction and a fiction book on my repertoire every month. That's my goal. So for the nonfiction book that I finished listening to is by Kate Strickler, and it was called I Just Wish I Had a Bigger Kitchen. And it was such a good reminder about just being satisfied with the current life that you have. Being on social media, you see all the perfect lives that people, these influencers have. It kind of makes you wish for, the greener pastures.
Exactly.
So, but this book, she talks about, being satisfied with your current state or your current lot in life and not kind of putting things off for that bigger kitchen or, just until I have this and this, to be put in place, I'll do this, kind of thing. So it was a really eye-opening experience reading this book. So I really enjoyed listening to this one, and a reminder to kind of recenter your perspective about what you currently have and making the best of what you currently have. And then you just kind of automatically feel this great satisfaction with it. The other book that is on my to be read doesn't come out until next week, and it's our very own Mr. Silas House.
Oh, nice.
He has a book coming out. It's his first murder mystery.
Oh, fun.
Yes. And it's called Dead Man Blues. And it is, again, a murder mystery based around a town on the Kentucky-Tennessee border. The fictional area in the book is called Cedar Lake, but it's based, he says that the inspiration for it is Dale Hollow.
Okay.
Dale Hollow Lake. So, and that's, I think it's one of his favorite places to visit, but that was the inspiration for this book. So I love a good murder mystery.
Yes.
And I'm so excited that it's being told by Silas because he's an amazing writer. So I'm excited to read that one. That one comes out September 30th. And I'm hoping that I can get my hands on it quickly.
Yes.
To be able to read it. So yeah, those are the two that are on my reading lists.
Those both sound really good, and I'm very excited for the murder mystery.
There's also Nick Stone is coming to Lexington to Tates Creek High School. We've invited her, and we're using the Tates Creek High School auditorium to have her here. She has her first adult novel coming out.
That's very exciting.
It's called Boomtown. So that one is going to be a good one too. So be on the lookout for that book. That one comes out October 14th. And I'm excited to talk to her. I get to have a conversation with her so people can come and listen. Hopefully people can make it.
And so it'll be very exciting. And that's October 7th at 4:30.
Yes. And you can register on our website.
Yes.
All right. You want to talk to us about some upcoming programming?
So October has a lot of themes to it. So there's Tree Week is in October.
Yes.
It's October 10th through 19th. And it's actually a citywide set of programming. So there's, if you Google Tree Week, Lexington, Kentucky, a website comes up that has the programming all around the city.
And there's going to be
various
programming, adult and children both.
There's Halloween programming.
Of course.
At the end of the month.
Of course.
So make sure to check out the calendar for that. The Boo Bashes for the little ones, which is always adorable,
so much fun,
are at the end of the month. And then there are various craft programs throughout the branches. So you'll just want to make sure to check if there's registration. I actually had one on my list that it's Halloween laser engraving that I thought would be exciting to highlight, but it's full with a wait list already. So join that wait list. And the Thursday nights, the Southland Jamboree is now moving to the Farish. It's their winter location through April.
Wow.
And that's at 7 p.m. after we close. It's from 7 to 8:30. So feel free to come to that and hear some different bluegrass music.
Oh, that'll be so much fun.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
love when they bring music to Central Library. We had some really good music, especially around the holiday time.
Yes.
Some of our staff have connections to some musicians.
They do.
And it's so lovely to hear this music around the library.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Some individual programs I wanted to highlight are the First Time Homebuyers Workshop that Northside is having on October 9th.
Oh, that one that sounds good.
So it's just an informational session. If you are interested in buying a house, you can come and find out all of the steps to it, where you need to be, what documents you need to have, things like that.
Where to get a loan, et cetera.
Yeah, and how to find a not predatory loan, things like that. Genealogy Day is at Central on October 11th. That is a Saturday, and it is all day. It does require registration, but you get some goodies, so you can go ahead and sign up for that starting now. It's from 9:30 to 5, and it's always really fun. You can learn more about genealogy. There are experts coming in, and it's going to be a really fun day.
We talk about ghosts of past.
Yes.
Paranormal, yeah.
And then at Marksbury, there is a sketchbook meetup on October 18th at 2 p.m. And that is for adults. It's an adult art club. So you can bring your sketchbook or any sort of art that you want to work on just to have that, after school club experience as an adult again.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah, it sounds really fun.
After school club, man. It's not just for kids. It can be for adults too.
Yeah.
But there is some sort of inspiration in the camaraderie of art.
There is, yeah.
I remember when you used to do the painting.
Yeah, well, we can't say his name because we'll get in trouble, but I'll put it this way, the Rob Boss programs.
I remember those were a hit. They were so much fun. People just painted and
yeah. And then we did the painting with a mocktail twist sometimes, and that was always very popular too. So art in a group is just always a fun time.
Yeah, because art is meant to be shared.
Yes.
Yay.
And then the last one I wanted to highlight actually has 2 sessions. It's chair yoga at Beaumont, and those are on October 11th and 25th, both at 11 in the morning.
I love chair yoga.
It's so nice.
It is very nice.
It's for all levels, beginners. Yes. If you're not flexible, that's okay. You'll get there. Do what you can do. It's
really nice. If you're suffering from some sort of injury or anything, it's really good recovery. Yeah. I love chair yoga. All right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, lots of exciting things happening at the library.
Many things. October is a very busy month, so make sure you check out our calendar. You can find something every weekend and almost every night. So you've got
pretty much
lots of options.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We look forward to having you guys join us for our next episode.
See you soon.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Turning the Page. If you enjoyed listening, there will be more to come, so please give us a follow so that you don't miss the next episode.
We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts.